And today's topic is quite interesting, right? I'm sure you all have some curiosity around it. So please share with us in the chat box, what are you hoping to take away today from um, this AI savvy coach that you are, or I'm assuming that you are. Please let us
Mhm.
know, what would you like to take away from today's session? Well, I can tell you, Renu, I've had some ideas on how I can become or how I can partner more intelligently with AI. So I'm going to dive into the topic with Renu because the session it has quite a lot in it. We're going to start with Renu doing a presentation that may take about 20 to 25 minutes. So allow that moment, right? There's some beautiful slides that Renu has, and she's going to pass along some knowledge. The topic involves us doing some kind of new learning. So Renu would pass some knowledge. Then we'll do a discussion and, of course, take your questions. And we'll leave this webinar being a bit more informed on how to be AI savvy as coaches. As a way of introduction, and Renu is known to most of you, but I'd like to ask Renu to tell you, um, Renu, or tell us all, Renu, what's your interest in this topic? Like, what makes your intelligence partner so brilliantly with AI?
Thank you, Cindy. And that is such a reflective question. To me, I think it speaks on many levels. I studied mathematics, statistics in college. The numerical or the statistical angle speaks to that. I am a coach today as part of a profession that's getting disrupted. I'm at the intersection of a lot of change. So I have the choice whether to be a bystander, whether to let someone else lead the way, or to kind of dive in and experiment. So, you know me, I've chosen to dive deep within, and I come from a view of I'm a coach, I'm a practitioner. I'm not here to develop a product, but I'd like to educate. I'd like to maybe open this space for more people, do some early experiments, and share more with the community. So that's something that converged into me starting work in the AI coaching space. I got selected as a member of the AI Coaching for Coalition, which is a body of coaches from EMCC, ICF, AOC, and the work that we do is more of an advisory, and we pass on all work to the three bodies, which will then take and bring things into the coaching ecosystem for coaches as we kind of move forward. So you can think of that as an advisory body. So I would say I'm a coach, I'm a member of the coalition, I am curious, and I'm bringing all of that into this space.
Wonderful. So I'm also aware, Renu, as we dive in right now, or in a second or two, that coaches, we are aware that, or to all our attendees, that many here may be beginner level, intermediate level, and more the expert in how you are partnering with AI. Renu would dive in such a way that the webinar would address all that and more. So, just as a word again to the coaches that have attended, just attended, we are starting with a presentation that will take about 20 to 25 minutes. Then we're going to dive into discussions. Okay? And to do that, I'm going to go off video and Renu, we're going to do hide non-video participants just so that the screen could take, the presentation could take full space on our screen. Okay, Renu, over to you.
Thank you, Cindy. I hope everyone can see my presentation, maybe a thumbs up or some indicator. Okay. Thank you, Cindy. So welcome to today's session. Let's keep this as a dialogue. Keep your comments, questions coming in the chat as well. What this presentation is not and what today's session is not, let me call that out. We're not here to train you on what LLMs look like. We're not getting into the geeky language of AI. We're not here to talk about how to prompt. We're zooming out. We're looking at our profession at large. We're looking at our industry at large. And what do we need? And where do we start from? Some of us are pretty advanced in our journeys because of our backgrounds. Some of us come from tech. Some of us have already ventured into this space. Some of us are probably just starting off unsure. I'm not going to use the word afraid. I would probably say unsure or what's the right first step. This presentation will hope to cover that. If there's anything you need after this, please put it on chat. I'm more than happy to come back to you on that. Please stay with us right till the end, because after we do the presentation and we do the dialogue, we've actually got a self-assessment with results that you can download as PDF document, which tells you where you need to focus on individually based on your responses on your journey to become an AI savvy coach. I'm going to run through my presentation. Any questions, please put these on chat. I'm doing this to kind of set the context for anything that needs to come in. When I spoke about zooming out, it's important for us to take a pause and step out of the circle that we often find ourselves as coaches. We call ourselves ICF credential coach, trained coaches, Gallup coaches, Tony Robbins coaches, EMCC coaches, AOC coaches, team coaches, all of that. When the consumer market or the consumer of coaching, whether it's a B2B, B2C, looks at coaching, it's a much wider lens. Today, if you Google, you'll realize there are at least 60 types, categories where people are calling themselves coaches. And these sit in various different dimensions, starting out with the organization and the leadership space, where you have leadership coaches, executive coaches, team coaches. You then have personal growth. A lot of these coaches are found on Instagram. Something becomes popular and that line emerges. Anything in the personal growth can be around life coaching, mindset coaching. You then have health and body, which has probably been around longer, with the apps doing a lot of work with your Fitbits, etc. So you have health coach, wellness coaches that sit in. You have relationships and life stages coaches. This field is really becoming more strong and more powerful. So from everything from a dating coach, a divorce coach, a grief coach, a trauma coach, everybody's sitting there in that category. Then you have specialist emerging. We have someone on the Coacharya alumni who's a financial expert and a financial coach. You have very specific elements that are feeding into it. Then you have identity and expression. This is more around the spiritual elements, the alternate, and you find somewhere we may be touching into other areas as well. The mystical, the therapeutic, and all of that are converging. That's what the market is looking at when we talk of coaching. That is what the consumer is looking at when we speak about coaching. If you look at the graph on the right-hand side, it's an extract from the ICF report and talks about the coaching industry revenue based on the surveys that they've done. Okay, 2025 expected to be about 5.34 billion. With the augmentation of AI coaching, AI-enabled coaching, AI tools, and human coaching, this is expected to hit about $10 to $12 billion as TAM in the next 5 to 6 years alone. Maybe it gets accelerated depending on the way AI disrupts our ecosystem. While we constantly talk about coaching as a human profession and we deeply hold the space for conversation, silence, value, depth, the coaching market is already disrupted. It's not going to start. That space has already got disrupted. 2025 January is when BetterUp, one of the pioneers and leaders in the AI and human, the tech in the human rather, coaching space, launched their hybrid product. And what they saw with consumers, and almost 30% of Fortune 100 companies work with BetterUp. 34% of people who availed that coaching preferred only human coaching. 15% preferred only AI coaches. 51% preferred both. They want a blended solution that offers AI as well as a human approach. So our audience, our clients, our consumers are asking for a hybrid. Well, does it work? They went and did a further study. The outcomes were 16% confidence boost and 95% satisfaction rate. That was the start of what we're seeing across an ecosystem. If you've been in ICF forums, if you've been in EMCCO experimenting, you're seeing emergence of a lot of tools. I'm not going to get into which tool, which product, which solution is coming in here. With all of that background, if you look at what our ecosystem is telling us, okay, and one way to know I'm human and not AI is because my screen just froze. What does this mean for ICF credential coaches? Because we're at that tipping point. We're at that point where the future of our profession is based. So ICF in February 2026 released a ICF Futures report, and this is available on the ICF website to download. You've got two versions, a full-blown 77-page document or just a 4-page document. It talks about what is the future of our profession. And there are 4 scenarios based on 2 dimensions or drivers, okay, of collaboration, of minimum development and maximum development. With those 2 as a line and a range, there are 4 scenarios. Okay, if you look at scenario 4, right now, this is where most of us are. Local roots, human touch, where coaching is mostly human. People come to you because you're the known expert. You are known in a field. People probably reach out to you because you live in the same city or the same country. It's more community connection, it's more relationship connection. Then we look at the other 4 scenarios as well. The extreme is a digital first, right on the opposite, the scenario 1. Digital first, human optional. What does it mean? Perhaps there's no human in that interaction. Everything is delivered to you only through AI and AI enabled. AI knows your preferences, AI knows your patterns, AI is tuned to pick and give you. And maybe there's no need for human. And if there's a human probably just out there making a decision saying, do we want to bring in AI or not? And then scenario 2 and 3 sit somewhere in between with less of AI, more of human, with less of human, more of AI. I'm not going to get into details of this. This is available for you to read as well. But these are again 4 scenarios, and our future really will lie into it. What this also does is challenge a lot of our predominant thinking. If you look at local roots in human touch, if you look at the coaching profession, until now, maybe until 5 years ago, pre-COVID, coaching was picked up by people as a secondary career. They fulfilled a corporate life, they fulfilled one leg of the career and then emerged into coaches, mentors often. People who retired at CXO levels, transitioned out of their jobs and said, okay, we bring in the expertise, we can now serve as coaches. If you look at the ICF ecosystem and the global adoption of coaching, you now have more coaches in their 40s. You have more coaches in 30s who are already at PCC, MCC pathways. ICF is looking at youth adopting coaching and picking up coaching as a primary profession. The youngest PCC was at 19 years old, reported almost a couple of years ago. The intersection is not just with who's getting into coaching, but there's also a divide that comes in with the new generation. We might say, okay, coaching is deeply human and we want to stay there. Our client base is changing. Our ecosystem is changing. There's an entirely digital native audience that is now becoming the consumer and user of coaching. Whether anybody who's born maybe after 80s will prefer a digital solution before going to a human. So it's just not what the profession wants to do, it's what the ecosystem will force the profession to do and adopt. There are some big gaps. You know, when you talk to coaches, some of them are like, I don't need AI. I don't believe in AI. And for various reasons, maybe confidentiality, maybe human, maybe I have a roster of clients that are giving me steady business. Why should I experiment with AI? And these are some of the big gaps where coaches are stuck. Uncertainty over credentials. A lot of coaches are like, I'm trained. Do I need my ICF MCC credential? What's the value? I'm ACC. Do I need to go for my PCC? I'm PCC. Do I need to go for my MCC? I was a leader. I'm a veteran. I'm a ex-corporate leader. Why do I need to get my credentials to manage and do team coaching or group coaching in any form? Too overwhelmed and fragmentation. Every day you're bombarded with, here is a new solution, here's a new AI software. What do? It started off with just ChatGPTs and OpenAI solutions, Claude, Perplexity. You had Google Nano Banana, you had Gamma. And you can see this. My presentation is actually designed by Gamma. Okay. What do I do? Where do I use it? Do I need to use it? I have no time. So there's an overwhelm that comes in. An identity crisis. Will we be completely replaced by AI? Will people talk to humans? Will people pay a premium to go to a coach when everything today is available, maybe over a Claude chat or a ChatGPT chat? AI literacy is dangerously low. Very few spaces where we're talking about learning about AI, not from a technical point of view or saying I'm building a tool or a solution, but as a consumer, as a user, or maybe an integrator. Most importantly for us, ethics, trust, and confidentiality concerns. Most coaches today are experimenting with AI in some form without knowing whether data is saved, without knowing where the data will go, without knowing what is at risk, without knowing if they've already breached boundaries. Possibly not. Too much content, too little clarity. Oh, I've got, again, talking to the tools. What do I pick? Where do I prioritize? Should I prioritize? Maybe the bodies are not saying anything. What do I do? Again, experimentation without strategy. Okay, I've got a tool, I've got a solution, but where does it fit into my business model? We hear a lot of coaches say, you know what, I don't want to go out and get business. I rather just deliver coaching. So when somebody brings me a coaching client, I will just show up in the room and coach. So I prefer working with a platform. I'd probably work with an aggregator, but I'm not going out there and doing any business development. Why do I need to experiment? Most importantly, there's no playbook available either through any body or through any industry association that gives you a playbook. What is the right way? If somebody doesn't want to experiment, what is your playbook? Do these 5 things, 10 things, and you will be able to integrate your AI with your coaching. And coaches could be in one box or multiple boxes. We've all been there. All of us are there somewhere. If we've got maybe the identity crisis solved, we probably are still looking for the playbook. We are probably still literacy is something that is changing probably. You go to sleep and tomorrow there's a new model somewhere. There's a new tool announced. What do we do? So it's also the pace of change that will keep these gaps open for a while. It's not that we will fill it and these will disappear. At the AI Coaching Coalition, one of the primary things that we started off with is it AI versus human? We're not talking replacement at all. We're not talking about an AI solution coming and replacing any one of us. We're talking about human first, and AI then either as a partner or tool. And with that, I'm going to now hand over to Cindy. We'll probably get into some dialogue, answer some questions. And towards the end, we will give you a self-assessment. There's a QR code. You can take your time, do it. I don't want to share it with you right now because, everybody's going to go into separate spaces. Cindy.
Yeah, Renu, I loved how you ended that, right? It's like plus. I love that integration. And, considering what some were saying in the chat, I'm going to start at this point. How do we become AI savvy as coaches? Like, if you're discussing it, or then leave us with some tips, something simple that we can take away.
Absolutely, Cindy. And I think a great question as a start point. Most importantly is to kind of say, my credentials are a start point. My credentials don't tell me I know everything about the profession and the ecosystem. They give me the skills, the techniques, the tools to be a great coach, but there is more surrounding it. So one is letting go of any biases, preconceived notions. Hey, I was a CEO. I don't need AI. I've been there. I've run teams. I've run multi-billion dollar corporations. I don't need it. Starting with the fact that there is need and you need to make room. So I think letting go of some of our legacy is important, because only when you empty a container can you create space for the new to come in. Then to kind of
Hmm.
say, okay, where do I want to prioritize? Because you don't need to do everything.
Hmm. So that's good because now we've opened up the space of how we integrate AI into our coaching practice as business. And I love that point you made. Just getting credentialed is not enough, right? We need to go beyond that.
Absolutely, Cindy. And I think more importantly, I would say today the need to reach the mastery level, reach the highest point of the coaching profession. Just a
Hmm.
question to our audience. Do we leave our education halfway through?
Hmm. Well, that's the curiosity of a coach you're talking about, right? Are we gonna just leave it there at midpoint, or is our curiosity gonna take us right to the beyond point? Core competencies are core.
Yes.
We are all learning the core competencies, and we all attest to honoring it and using it in our coaching practice. But the changing, evolving world and our changing, evolving clients require more of us as coaches.
Absolutely, Cindy. So if you look at coaching not just as a credential or a certification or a tool, and instead when you anchor it in the identity of a profession and a practice, very similar
Mm,
to what doctors do, lawyers do, they spend years getting to an entry level. So a mastery today is 2,500 hours, which is practically 1 year of, say, residency, 1 year of your internship. So when you do
mm.
MCC, would you truly have reached a space where you can then create different value for your client in a changing operating model? Maybe there was a time where the PCC was more than enough. Today, when
Mm,
our clients go to AI or experiment with any tech solution, when they come to a coach, they will expect the coach to offer at a level beyond what the AI can do. And that's where
mm.
mastery will come into play. So, we've seen that people want to pay for niche, people want to pay for something that is exclusive. So, the adequate will need to get replaced by exclusivity. And that starts at maybe an MCC.
So I love that parallel, the way you're drawing it, right? Like when you get to an ACC coach, you want to do more, you want to go beyond. When you become a beginner in using AI into your coaching or integrating it, the human intelligence, the AI intelligence and technology, you want to go more and more and more beyond as evolution is happening. So it's about this integration to meet the demands of clients.
Absolutely, Cindy. And there's enough research that's being put out there as well. There was a research paper that was put out last year by Jonathan Passmore and team, where
Mm,
there were, so while of course there were limitations, but it was a good start point for discussion. It was a text-based solution based on GPT, 43 data points, and people were put through that. It was already coaching at ACC level.
mm,
So today, while we talk about generic inputs, say like a Claude or a Chat GPT, and these are not designed as coaching solutions, but there are agencies and there are companies today all over the world that are very strongly focusing on using ICF as a benchmark, EMCC benchmark, and creating and designing tools and solutions for that. When those solutions start to improve and learn on the memory, the human needs to do better.
mm. Coaches, somebody is not muted. Can you mute, please? Thank you. So let me pick up my thoughts on what you were saying again. The So there's this evolution happening, and that's a particular expertise point and the relevance to MCC that you made.
Right.
But let's come back to like what a reality is right now, because I'm eager to know that from all our participants here, and you and I will also continue in the discussion. Coaches, how are you integrating AI into your coaching practices? Like, what are you noticing your clients need, and what are you doing? Like, how are you integrating it? Because the more we begin to notice our coaching is changing, our clients' needs are changing, then we have to become curious. I know I said have to, because really we do, about what else is out there and what more we can learn and integrate to become a bit more, I'm going to use this word, AI savvy. So, coach, participants, as you type into the chat box, how are you engaging and integrating AI? Renu, may I pick your brains? I mean, knowing how good you are in this field, how are you using AI?
Oh, oh wow, Cindy, this is fantastic. Like just today's, okay, very real. The presentation was designed using Gamma. So I gave it my thoughts. I said, I need you to pick this reference. I knew exactly what to feed it. I didn't say you think for me. I did not outsource my thinking. I critiqued it. I said what needs to be done. It saved me massive time to sit and do formatting, convert into different formats, all of that. The AI assessment that you will see is actually hosted on one of the platforms that is AI platform. So all I had to do was give it the raw data. I didn't need to code. It's a web-based application. I didn't need a designer. I didn't need a coder. So what today AI does is it creates a level playing field. Until now, you have
Renu, wait. First, I got to get this. Gamma, right? So you did the
yes,
presentation on
Gamma.
Gamma,
Yes.
right? Yamini, please take some notes here. And then you did your assessment that we all are going to see at the end of this webinar on what's the platform there. Because I mean, I love what you just said, how easy it is.
Yeah,
What is it?
it's a build fill out site platform, and a lot of it is free. You don't even need to buy credits, in the initial stages when you're experimenting. So while there are solutions today, if you want to create your website, you don't need to go to a graphic designer. You don't need a developer. There are enough and more tools, whether you look at Lovable, whether you look at Bolt, within 5 minutes, you can get your website up. We
Okay.
could do it right now in a lab if you need.
Okay, don't mind if I go a bit slower. I'm going to hold the space for all of us to make some notes. And, I know somebody may be challenging me when to use technology to make notes, but it's okay. I'll tell Yamini to do that. Um, Continue, please, Renu. What else are you using that could add
Cindy,
value for us?
I'll tell you, what I did last year, when I started off my company, I had like a temporary logo and I had to get work going. I had a contract, I needed a logo. So I had like a temporary logo. I didn't have time to go work with somebody. So I did something and I put it out there. I was not satisfied with it. Okay. And then I was talking to people. I have enough friends, acquaintances because of my ex-professional background, my previous professional background, saying, okay, do I need to go to a designer? Do I need to go to a developer? And I realized I didn't have time. And I needed to. The OCD in me wanted to like get into like the minute shade of blue, the minute shade of ochre. What I did one day was I sat with ChatGPT, and I'm going to give you a background to it. My ChatGPT is programmed. So it has my Gallup report, it has my Hogan report, it has my Enneagram, it has everything. So I'm like, when you speak in my voice. When you give me anything, give it.
What do you mean it as it? Means you created a profile for yourself and you
Yes,
fed it all this information for it to
absolutely.
become for it to
Absolutely.
know more about you, right? So it knows all about you. Okay.
So what I'm doing, Cindy, is just like a funnel. I'm narrowing it
Yeah.
down. So it's not a
Right.
universe anymore. I've now designed it to say, okay, these are my walls, these are my boundaries, these are my containers. I think
Mm,
like this, I speak like this, I behave like
mm.
this. So if there is a response, you kind of make sure it anchors to that. So because my ChatGPT had that, then I went back and I said, okay, I have a company logo. This is what I do. This is my vision. These are my values. Okay.
Mm.
I need you to give me a logo. That's the first thing that I did. I am an Indian. I believe in astrology. I'm an Asian. I believe in feng shui. I believe in
Mm.
numerology. So I went with all of that, saying this was the year of incorporation. I need you to do this. You give me a logo that works for me. Within 1 hour of playing with it, I call it experimenting and playing. The logo that I use today was created by ChatGPT. Okay, it gave me an entire brand document saying these are your brand colors. Eh, and all I had to do was then go to somebody I knew saying, can you convert this into a Corel file and give it to me should I need to print my cards? Because, today people still prefer visiting cards. That's all I needed to do. What it did for me was give me the freedom to not wait. It gave me the freedom to play an experiment, right down to maybe a decimal point on the color. But I knew what to ask it and I was challenging it. I didn't take anything it gave me.
It also it increases your own capacity, right? Because now you got something, and you as a human can question the something and make it more relevant or to your preference, exactly how you love it. It's a lovely partnership you use there, in.
Thank you, Cindy. And I would encourage everybody because that's why you're not sharing any client data. If tomorrow you want to start, defining the values for your business and you think you're stuck somewhere, if you speak a different language and you would want to integrate that, you want to bring in some lived experiences. So my ChatGPT does store my memory. I've chosen the option where it retains it. That's why it has my data. But that is only for my work. I'm not using it for any client space. So I use it. So Cindy, that was like one example of where I used it. Where I continuously use it is when I put out newsletters, I have my draft. Okay. I will use Claude. I use Claude extensively to say, can you draw visuals for me? Can you convert this into this? Can you maybe make a presentation for me? So I use it like a very intelligent assistant.
Hmm. So this is all for the coach on how they can build their branding, their visibility, the website, the business, right? It's like
Absolutely.
for
So
use
if
of coach.
So if you look at, okay, when we coach, there is a lot that
Mm.
happens around it. So whether,
Mm.
we've gone to even doing research to which school to go to where can I find business, to how do I put myself out there. And today, even if you don't go actively look for business, people want to have your storefront. Even if you have a one pager, your client needs to know. Okay. You can use that actively to even get content for your LinkedIn because clients will today go on to LinkedIn and say, what do you do? So that's the brand part of it, Cindy. Then coming into, I think, for coaches from a development perspective. So I use, my AI very actively to kind of say, these are my patterns. So like when you give us feedback in class and, when I've kind of observed something, I take that back saying, I notice this is what I'm doing in my coaching sessions. And then it comes back and says, of course, you're overusing your strengths because it knows my Gallup, it knows my Hogan, and then it tells me you need to moderate.
Hmm. Okay, that's very interesting how you're using it. So here's what's coming up for me. How about we take a pause because I've been doing the questioning so far and just check in with our participants. Is there any questions you have that you would like to really to engage with around what value you could get for yourself as a coach before we dive into how Renu is using this for clients? Yeah, before we can do any collective wisdom for our clients, what are your questions? Feel free to um, put it onto the chat or, yeah. Hmm. So somebody asked you there, Renu. I can't see your full name and I'm calling you somebody. My apologies. How many AI services platforms are you currently subscribed to?
Vivek asked that question. Yes, sir. So hi, Vivek. So what do I use? I use ChatGPT, I use Claude, I use Perplexity. If I'm using presentations, I use GenSpark AI, I use Gamma, I use Google Nano Banana. So I write on LinkedIn, I have my newsletter. So any images that you see there are generated via Google Nano Banana. So it's not that one tool is for everything. You've got to pick and choose. What do you need it for? So if I'm looking for something with a lot of research, I will use Perplexity and Claude. If I need a challenge, and you know what? Be like the coach that's challenging a team. So take output from one, challenge the other tool, and say, "This is what this tool gave me. What is it that you have to do? Critique it, improve it. You don't have to just stay with one."
Are these all the free versions or are you using a combination of both?
Cindy, I'm using only free versions right now. I've not felt the need to go and get paid licenses. And I think the reason being, only when you start to use it beyond or do a certain volume of work, then you do it. You can be smart with it. There are daily, credits, tokens that you need. There's enough to start off. You don't need to go pay that extra and get it done. And of course, seasonally they will offer like a subscription for a year. If you're a regular user, you'll know when to catch it.
Hmm. For the coach, Renu, what are the pitfalls? Like, should we watch out for? If we can run away with our curiosity, right? I mean, we coaches, we have a lot of that. But what are the pitfalls that we shouldn't dive into for self?
I think that's such a brilliant question. I think knowing your boundaries. Don't outsource your agency. If you are an ICF coach, the core competencies are your Bible. Okay.
Mm.
Your work with a mentor coach, work with your supervisor. So I actively receive supervision. Not just because of my EMCC, but I believe there's a lot of value in supervision. And
Mm.
so you don't replace the human.
Yeah.
You don't replace the human, because the human there is a master with so many lived experiences, with experiences of the profession. So Cindy,
Mm.
between you and Ram, you would have probably seen the last 30 years of ICF, right? You would have seen the whole
Mm.
journey of EMCC. You can't replace
Yeah.
that.
No. No, you can't. You're absolutely spot on. So it's not like a one versus the other or a competition space, more an integration and a partnering space. I like this word intelligent in an intelligent way, meaning question yourself, do some critical thinking for yourself. When you find yourself too absorbed into something, then there's another side to it, right? Ask yourself, well, what's the dilemma? What's getting in your way? What are some of the issues? And to also just step back and give yourself the space to reflect on what you are doing and how you're doing it.
Absolutely, Cindy. And I think another thing is, uh, it can also help you find your niche and specialization. It
Yeah.
help you narrow. I can continue to use the word funnel. Don't let it make a decision,
Mm.
but let it give you more options and choices.
I like that. More options. Yeah. So let's dive a bit, Renu, before we get to that questionnaire that you got and you're going to do some framing around that. Let's talk about clients.
Hmm.
Like, um, how can we use it? I'm just going to keep it as open-ended. You and a broader picture of how can we use AI with clients in a way that enhances the coaching relationship and not as any kind of replacement in any way.
Absolutely, Cindy. So I think today, if I have to go back to maybe the 5 clients that I had coached, and these were retail, they probably came to me off the platform or any contract from a corporate. These are all people who are mid 40s, extremely tech savvy, multicultural, lived everywhere. They've come to me after they've experimented with their chat GPTs. They've come to me after they've experimented with their Claude. So the client that's coming today has already done some work with tech, has not found the answers, because the answer is not about, help me solve this problem. It's more sitting in the identity domain, or it's sitting with making a decision that they are procrastinating or not willing to make a decision right now. So they've already come with that. I think what happens is, I did that with one client. Contracting is most important. Most important. What would we use any ChatGPT Claude for? Because we're not recording, and I'll come to some of the coaching solutions that are actually recording on the platforms. But consent to what would it take? And what I did was, I said, you know what? I'm going to give you the transcript of our conversation. You play with it,
Mm.
and you would share with me what you want to share with me. So my client knows exactly, and they're controlling what they need to control, what they need to feed, and what they need to. By third session, my client came back and told me, look, you and I know there's a pattern. My solution is telling me this is my pattern and I can't circle around it anymore. So she used the word arc. That's a very ChatGPT phrase. She said, I'm
Mm.
stuck on my arc. There are words that are very ChatGPT, very Claude. And then
Mm.
use that to kind of get into a conversation to say, why not? So, where is data stored? We're in India, whether it's Claude, whether it's OpenAI, all data is stored in the US, whether it's a temporary chat, whether it's a permanent chat, whether your data is being used for training or not. And most importantly, Cindy, I think when we work with clients, it's most important to know our intention may be very pure right now to say, I need more insights, until there's more certainty to where this data can go tomorrow, or whether there's a scope creep or a purpose creep that may come in, or somebody may use this to train a solution, I would exercise caution.
Mm. Absolutely. I fully agree. When coaches come quite eagerly, in mentoring and say, ChatGPT said, this recording is a pass. And I first alert point for me, did you have your client's details on it when you put it to
Yes,
ChatGPT? Because that's what you should not do. Yeah.
absolutely.
What, yeah. You must always bear in mind the ethics of coaching there.
And I'll tell you where this is where the nuance comes in. So even if I have my client's permission and I've still anonymized my transcript and I've uploaded it, okay? But how much are you going to anonymize? Because something can be traced back. Okay, if you say,
Yeah.
like, let me just say, okay, let's just take a person we're coaching, and the identity is it's a 40-year-old working woman in India. The minute I say working woman in Delhi is a different cultural context and nuance versus a 40-year-old working woman in Chennai. The background and the culture changes. If I say 40-year-old working woman in, say, London, culture, so the nuances of who the person is and what then is given to you may not always be accurate. So what I often hear what coaches tell me is, you know what, I changed the gender. I'm like, haven't you changed the context and construct then?
And of course, even all the AI tools have a disclaimer. AI could be wrong, ChatGPT could be wrong, right?
Absolutely, because what is it? It's fed on the data we've given it. We've trained.
Mm.
Okay, so it's trained on human data. It's trained on every time we log in. India is the second largest traffic for ChatGPT worldwide, after US. Okay, followed by either Japan or Brazil, depending on the month. We're tuning and fine tuning the data. It's picking up our language. It's picking up our lingo. The LLMs are refining based on it. And
Yeah.
humans hold bias. We have our perspective, and maybe unconsciously, because we don't know blind spots, we don't know what it is, or we choose to live with our blind spots for whatever reason.
Yeah. And sometimes our own enthusiasm and excitement takes us beyond, right? And then we stop and we don't enough question ourselves. We don't do enough questioning because the excitement and the enthusiasm is far superior than the negative of it.
Oh, absolutely. You've got absolute dopamine the minute, you start getting results. Like I go back to that example of me creating my logo and my brand kit in 1 hour, where I would have had to spend a significant amount working with the person and maybe waiting for two weeks at least to get my output. And only with certain number of iterations here, I have the freedom. But you need to know
Hmm.
what your boundaries are. So I always call it, Cindy, it's like bungee jumping, but you always have your safety gear on. You don't jump off without any of it.
Yeah. And I want to just add a tip here, because there's a lot of coaches on the call. If you're assessing yourself using an AI tool, please be mindful against what you are assessing yourself against. Like I would get sometimes an MCC coach in practice, in training, go, ChatGPT said, Cindy, this recording is a pass. So I'd say, okay, let me have a look at it. Let the human ear also have a look at it. And I would, on a lighter note, of course, this is an MCC coach, a potential MCC. They have a lot of experience, so we have to talk with some lightness. And I would go, let me look at it. And then I go, I would ask this coach, what did you ask ChatGPT to assess this against? Like, what was it assessing?
Yeah.
I gave it the core competencies. And I said, but in all levels, we can use the core competency,
Yeah.
ACC, PCC, and MCC. What's a distinguisher here for you? And then I would go, okay. I said, you're assessing against the MCC bars, right?
Yes.
Okay, can you give me the bars? No, on the website, there's a minimum standard requirements. Now, that's a thorough document. It tells you what you need to do to pass. It tells you when it's not a pass, the skills required at every competency level. Use that as an indicator. Now you know you've got a standard you're being measured against using AI. So use your own intelligence in how you are leading AI.
Cindy, that is so brilliant because when you talk about the bars and the intelligence, it's also interpreting between the lines. When you look at law,
Yeah.
it's one statement, but you can argue on either sides of the law. You can have so many
Hmm.
perspectives. And that's why you need the human judgment and the human depth of experience.
Absolutely. The little nuances and the culture pieces that comes in, and the silences and the pause, and so much more that honors the who of the client that doesn't get picked up.
Absolutely. So if you use the Ray Notes, it's a paid tool, and it's got the minimum standards for ACC, PCC markers, and MCC. What it'll tell you is that it'll give you a summary. You spoke for the coach spoke for X number of time, split of the time, and say 8% were pauses and silence. But did those pauses and
Absolutely.
silences were they adequate? Did they serve the
Hmm.
purpose? Did they deepen the conversation?
Absolutely. That's very critical questioning. And so, there are a fair amount of tools that we know clients are using to support their coaching. Like even companies are introducing tools right now to support the coaching, like mindfulness
Yes.
and an accountability tracker or action tracker, where there's a human coach and some AI tool. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think, Cindy, this is where probably, if you look at any industry that's got
Hmm.
disrupted numerous times, whether you look at, say, the manufacturing industries, whether it's automotive, paint, cement, the traditional boring industries, you look at education has got disrupted, the human to tech. Coaching is a 30-year-old profession, the way ICF looks at it. It's probably the first time we're getting disrupted. We're getting disrupted at scale. So whatever's
Hmm.
coming in may seem more right now, may seem like, okay, is it the end of the world? But that's where it also surfaces a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. Hmm. Possibilities also, right?
Possibilities. And that's exactly where you talk about raising the bar, raising the standards. Let me just ask, we've got about 60 plus coaches on the call. Uh,
Yeah.
So at least 50% of them are ICF members. How many of them have gone and looked at the AI coaching standards that ICF put out almost 2 years ago?
Me?
Yeah.
And
So
most of you here, because we did a webinar on that, right? So I'm
absolutely.
hoping that you did look at it.
Absolutely. And some honesty, that I didn't even know it was there. Because when you look at being a member of ICF or any coaching body, there's a wealth of
Mm,
information that is available to you. They're at the forefront of the profession because we're under the ICF umbrella. They will see how to shape the future of the profession. If you're doing nothing,
yeah.
just follow it. You maximize your membership. If you're a global member, there's a ton of resources out there. There's a lot of work that's coming in. ICF last year, for the very first time, and they were the first coaching body to actually have a director of artificial intelligence, Susan Seether, there. So they're very serious about AI coming into coaching, but it's AI where humans kind of control the space.
Mm. And the space is moving quite rapidly, right? There's so much going on.
It will, Cindy, because if you look at it, it's just not disruption of the industry. So if you look at it, there are at least 3 points. I'm getting into the economics of it now. Okay, you've got emerging markets, matured markets. If you look at North America, you look at Europe. Coaching has been around for 25, 30 years in the way we define it in the ICF construct. Emerging
Mm,
markets in Africa, Asia, probably the last 5 years post COVID is when people started to put money on the table when it came to coaching. Okay, there's
mm,
a change in who's becoming a coach to who's using coaching. Okay, so there's a demographic shift that's coming in. More digitally native generation becoming coaches, wanting coaches. So today, when you're
mm,
coaching someone who's youth, for coaches who focus on, say, 18 to 21 or teenagers, they want tech first. They want to play with their devices before they want to come talk to you because they want to come in creating, they want to level the power. They want to level that playing game. Okay. So
mm,
there's a factor of economics, there's a factor of tech disruption, there's a factor of that. What it can do is to say, okay, maybe you've cut the harvest before, even if it's had time to go. But that's the opportunity for the emerging market. What do we want to do with it?
mm. There's a lot of opportunities that lie there, right? Even though we may be afraid or not knowing how to go there, when we look at the emerging future and what can we do now, in that gap, there's a lot of opportunities that lie there.
Absolutely, Cindy. And to your previous question, I didn't respond to that completely. If you look at coaching, until now, coaching was used as a supplementary thing. The top bosses got coaching, the managing director, the board minus one received coaching, top talent received coaching. It was somewhere sub part of the L&D. L&D has a budget and you get coaching. Okay. If you establish coaching as a profession, and that's why if you look at it, the industry is kind of focusing, when it becomes a profession, like, counselors, therapists, they're professions. Everybody knows what they do. The minute coaches can move from I coach to, coaching is an add-on as part of an L&D budget to a main, budget
Mm,
line in corporates or otherwise, that's where coaching will then change the game. So today, when you look at corporates, you have companies that spend significant amount in recruiting top talent at senior levels, say vice president above levels. How many of them are given a coach 0 to 90 days infant mortality, when we call it, where culture is most important factor? They're brilliant, that's why you hired them. They've got a mentor, probably they don't have a coach. Okay, when
mm,
people are transitioning roles, where is it? And that's where ICF broadens when you look at the DIB segment. So there's a member resource group for people who work with youth or are allies. Veterans is a community, BIPOC coaches, PWDs, people who are with visible, invisible uh, disabilities. We are mainstreaming that today. So the opportunity goes
mm.
up. How are we ready as coaches to mine those opportunities?
Absolutely. Renu, we may have to do a follow-up on this in a few weeks to see where coaches are and what more they need, right, to become more AI savvy. Because I know we just got about 2 or 3 minutes left, and you want to talk about the assessment. Please go ahead and share that link and do whatever you need to do.
Absolutely, Cindy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share a QR code with everyone. I'm getting my presentation on. Uh, please scan this. It should take you 15 minutes. You have the option to save the PDF. So you can either take it from your device or your phones, whatever you're comfortable with.
Hmm.
It has 50 questions on 10 different dimensions of 5 per section, telling you about everything from ethics, confidentiality, to diversity, to coaching competencies, to even knowing where you should, how are you using AI? And there's a scale of 1 to 5, from basic to advanced proficiency. Uh, the report that you get, actually, you can print it out. It tells you based on your responses, what are your strengths? I'm not talking about these as universal strengths, but your strengths and where you need to prioritize your learning.
Hmm.
Cindy, just
Okay,
let
coaches, please don't leave without taking this a note of this QR code and this resource Renu is sharing. Take that before you go. And yes, we will make this recording available. I'll chat with Renu afterwards, how and where this will be available, and I'll let you all know.
and what I can do is my email ID is there. If you want to discuss your report further, create a 90-day plan for yourself, work on your ideas, you can send an email to me. I'm happy to give at least 10 people half an hour each.
And Renu is on LinkedIn. You can reach her there, or you can reach her at Coacharya. Just reach it.
Absolutely.
One of us will give you details if you don't have it. Oh,
Uh,
wonderful. So that code works very well on your phone. I mean, I can see it. Renu,
thank
I can't leave without asking you this. Is there anything else that we missed asking you and you want to add a note around? Something else you want to say? Go ahead.
I think, Cindy, this conversation can have so many dimensions, and the only thing we can do is explore and expand. So there are so many things, and I think the ICF competencies where we use the words of curiosity and creating space and using insights. If we just offer that to ourselves when we look at embracing technology in any form, I think that just goes to serve us better.
Thank you. Coaches, I hope this had some value for you in how you can use AI and become more productive or curious about it. Let us know if there's any follow-ons that you need, maybe a follow-on particular topic, and we can raise that too. Thank you all for attending.